Get your G Fuel today at gfuel.com. Use the code SPEXANDFUEL at checkout.
So there was a Twitter post recently showing an issue that, although seems very straightforward at first glance, seems to have a lot more depth to it when taking a closer look. Keep in mind, these messages are a little over 6 months old, but it is still an issue that has been present for years and persists to this day. This is the post right here. I'll read out the messages here. It says, I just noticed you apparently bopped my socket time 24 hours after I got that world record. I started running that game specifically to I didn't have to deal with people gunning for me like in Lion King. I assume they're talking about the Sega version of Lion King. I'm just not sure how you thought that was a friendly thing to do, haha. And then the reply is, I watched a lot of runs and it was short, nothing personal, but I sometimes run games my friends run. Then they say, well, we had a conversation about how it was uncool that blank was doing that, then you did the exact same thing to me. You wouldn't have known that run existed if I wasn't running it. It's just whack that I'm considering not posting my PBs and uploading them up unlisted so I can run a game without people gunning for me. Just kind of seems a bit hypocritical considering you knew my situation, etc. And then it's just a speedrun, so-and-so was after you by attacking you, I haven't. All I did was run a game, that's it. And they go back and forth about this for a bit, even mentioning that the alleged sniper had been running for longer than the alleged victim. They noticed that the sniper had also posted to the individual leaderboard, or the individual level leaderboard of the game, and they said, add these to the pile of world records that you don't care about. I actually did care about those. You have fun with that. I'm removing my runs. You take care, dude. And then they even have a long, banned Twitch user moment about the sniper lacking empathy and emotional intelligence. So what do we think about this? Well, again, this is something that's existed for a very long time. And as I said already, one can easily dismiss this as someone being salty and that it's a really bad take, but it wouldn't be a Specs rant if we didn't look at all the angles, right? So first off, I will say I don't sympathize with this person. Then again, I never really cared about the competitive side of speedrunning. I've never really been a competitive person in my work, personal or recreational life. In fact, it's something that my wife is bugged about because when we play board games and stuff, whereas she gets very attached emotionally and very competitive. That being said, I can understand this mindset to a degree. Basically, at the most TLDR level, you want the satisfaction, endorphins, jerk-off material, whatever you want to call it, that comes from having a world record, basically being the best at something in the world, but you suck too much at the thing to be able to do so if there were any shred of competition in your way. So what do? You find a game that you enjoy and that no one else is currently running and has a free enough world record that any boob with a controller can get it. You spend maybe a couple weeks at most, you get the record. Then someone else has the unmitigated audacity to watch you play and say, hey, this game seems like a good speedrun, I'm going to run it too. Or someone who used to run the game sees you and they get nostalgia and they go back to it. Either way, they take the record from you. Maybe pick up a few other records along the way since they are already running the game, and then they leave. Now you're standing here with a run that is way more optimized than you could ever get it to. Even if you did get the world record again, you know that there'd be the same person or someone else right behind you to snatch it back. As I was researching the rant and reading comments about what had been going on and I was formulating my opinion, I couldn't help but feel as though the reason why people have been giving this take such a hard time is because they don't really have a similar situation. There are dozens of different objectives when it comes to speedrunning, right? You can speedrun to collect world records, where you just get a world record in a free game and immediately leave it for another. There are people with over 100 world records in dozens of games. No one says that those people are selfish. There are people who grind out a single game to the ground to the point that it becomes unrunnable, and then they keep grinding it down even further, and no one bats an eye. This is because those people's ways aren't being threatened. I guarantee you, if those world record collectors had someone snapping at their heels, they would be complaining too. Like, imagine if your only goal was to get as many world records as possible, but every time you did, there was someone right behind you getting a slightly faster time, and you leave the game with 4 world records and then they jump in and do it all faster. That doesn't really happen though. You know why? Because those people would also be complaining right now. It's easy to what I guess I'm trying to say is it's easy to shit talk someone whose primary form of fulfillment in life is being threatened when yours isn't. So you do have to sympathize a little bit with these people. All they want is to take a speedrun to a little dark corner where no one else can find it and fondle it a little with their small penis syndrome. I feel like there's a Law and Order episode somewhere in there. Maybe we can have Ice-T come in and look confused for a few minutes. But anyways, now that we have looked at their side of the situation, let's get to some of the actual problems with this take. The first problem with this take is that it goes against the first and most fundamental part of speedrunning, which is taking a game and beating it as quickly as you can. They're trying to stop the game category from getting faster and a lower time for the sole purpose of being able to improve the best time at their own pace, at your pace, rather than the game accelerating naturally. And that'll work for a while, but eventually you will hit a wall that really only thing that can solve is the presence of other runners. I'll give you an example from my own speed game category. I've run 100% for almost 5 years now. It'll be 5 years in September. The record was 33 hours when I started, and I brought it down to under 20 hours in that time. But eventually it got to the point where there was only so much I could do. I was the only person optimizing a 20-hour run, and it just wasn't feasible for me to do so, which is why it took 5 years to get to this point. If there were more people running it at the time, then we probably would have gotten to the point we're at now faster. It was only until people like Swiffy came in and started helping with the optimization process where we are now, and the record now went down below at 19 hours and just barely went below 18 hours. Again, had they jumped in sooner, we probably would be even lower than that today. Does this mean I no longer have the record? Yeah, but I don't really care about the record. I care about me going faster. All speedrunners, at least the good ones, focus on themselves. We focus on me going faster than myself previously. And having other people running the game and finding optimizations and such helps me then apply those to my runs and thus go faster. So some may think that this is a having your cake and eating it situation that this person's dealing with, but it really isn't. It's more along the lines of your cake sucks, but you still want to say that your cake is the best situation. You know, you want to be able to say that you're the best in the world, even though the only reason you're the best in the world is because you're the only in the world. Trust me when I say that if you work really hard at something and give it your all, you'll find that world records are overrated. The feeling of spending weeks upon weeks practicing and grinding a run and finally beating your own time or reaching a milestone that you were pushing for is much more satisfying than being the best of the 5 or 6 other strangers in the world. Like, can you really say that you're the best in the world when only like a dozen other people even try? Ocarina of Time I can understand. Super Mario 64, all those other games that are ripe with competition, I get it. But even like Breath of the Wild 100% that only has like 5 or 6 active runners at any time in the whole world, having the record doesn't really say a whole lot. And by the way, you can look at my runs in the past, back when I had world record. This is a take that I've had for several years, even when I had world record. It's much more of an accomplishment to say that you completed a Breath of the Wild 100% run, period. That being said, everyone has their own tickles. Some people get no satisfaction from slowly improving their time. Some can only find satisfaction if that time is the world record. And to those people, I say, sorry, but you're going to have to actually work for it. And the idea that this is somehow warranted because the person did it just to spite the runner, quote unquote, I'm sorry. That doesn't make it worse in my opinion. That doesn't justify it. First off, It's pretty clear that the sniper was just a viewer or an admirer who wanted to run the same category as the person they looked up to. Lots of people do that. There are like 2 or 3 prominent runners in the Breath of the Wild community who basically just follow me around to whatever category or event or challenge run that I do. And a lot of them even complete the challenge before I do or get better times than I do. I don't get salty about it. It just means that, A, they look up to me as someone who has good ideas and runs cool categories, and B, that more people are running the category that I am, which gives me more sources of inspiration. It drives me to keep pushing because I understand that competition has nothing to do with the people around me and everything to do with myself. Just because Usain Bolt exists doesn't mean that some kid who runs in Boise, Idaho should be discouraged. True, you probably won't be reaching the same level as Usain anytime soon, but you can still run. You can still find enjoyment in running and improving yourself. Just don't compare yourself to him. I mean, imagine if Usain Bolt compared and complained about having to compete with, like, Asafa Powell. My next point is that people are entitled to do whatever they want as far as speedrunning a video game is concerned. That's one of the beauties of speedrunning, is that how open it is. You can create a category of Breath of the Wild that involves you cutting a single tree down as fast as you can, and no one can stop you. There's no restriction or barrier of entry to speedrunning a video game besides owning the hardware required to run the game. So to say that someone else shouldn't speedrun a game just because you want to optimize it yourself is selfish and out of line. This is regardless of the intentions or number of runners. You can be the only person running the game. It doesn't mean you own it. Others should be able to come in and optimize the run as they wish, regardless of who they are and why they're doing it. They could be speedrunning the game because they hate you and they want to see you suffer slowly and painfully in a dark corner. Since all they're doing is playing a video game, they're well within their rights to do so. So using they purposefully followed me to this game just to take my records. Yeah, so people have done that to me my whole career. They are following someone they admire and want a piece of the pie, and that's okay. The funny thing is that all of this isn't even taking into consideration, just the total disregard that this person has for the bigger picture. As a speedrunning community, we ultimately want to see what? We want to see speedrunning grow as a sport and become big. We want more people to partake in our enjoyment, and we want to see the community grow. Over the years of me speedrunning Breath of the Wild, I've been able to bring the number of active numbers, or the number of active runners and total runners to far higher levels than ever thought possible by the community. Everyone thought this is a 30-hour category. No one's ever going to want to run it. And I was like, no, let's get the time down. Let's optimize it, make it a little bit more accessible. And yeah, people will want to run this because it's freaking hype. This person is in the exact opposite boat. They want to see the games that they speedrun not grow. They don't want anyone to come in. And if they do come in, they at least want the newcomers to suck more at the game than they do, so that they can stay at the helm of the ship. It's not really a god complex per se. It's more like a wants to be god complex. I don't know. I've been ranting for this long enough. I'm going to end up repeating myself a lot, I feel. But let me know what you guys think about this. Give me your thoughts, whether you agree with me or not. Any other topics you want to see me rant about in the future. And I'll see you guys later.